to the best big men that's ever played this game. He's got to be in that discussion.
Hold on. Pump the brakes.
No.
No, pump your brakes. Are you? No. We're not going to do that to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing. Pump your brakes. Man, you talk about Greg Popovich just rolled over in bed. You just skipped steps right now. You skipped steps. Well, we'll see.
No, you might see. I see.
Shaquille O'Neal is rolling over in his king-size waterbed right now.
No, those guys that you mentioned, they're looking at it like, Mark Jackson has a point. There's no disrespect to them. It's a compliment to this guy's skill level.
There can only be one arbiter for this argument, and let us bring in Stephen A. Smith to have the final word on this. Stephen A., good morning. We are 14 minutes away from First Take, and Steve is all over the country covering the playoffs for us at ESPN as well right now. Stephen A., you heard the debate. Whose side are you on?
Well, listen, I'm more on Jeff Van Gundy's side than I am on Mark Jackson's side on this. But let's be clear. Mark Jackson's talking about the talent that exists inside of Joel Embiid. And we get that. We understand that. But I'm very, very big on resume. Resume matters. And, you know, when you think about Joel Embiid, last year he played in the playoffs. This year, you look at it as one of those situations right now. The first two games of this series, he's only averaging about 14.5 points. You look at the kind of storylines that were evolving around him since last year, where people were talking about how he had to learn to play better with his back to the basket. As great as he is, as talented as he is, the footwork and everything else, he was more inclined to take perimeter shots or score facing the basket, putting the ball on the floor and getting to the hole. Sean has watched him for many years. I'm quite sure, you know, he gets where I'm coming from with this. It's not that Joel Embiid can't do certain things, but to be the big man that he is, the man amongst boys, there have been many instances where we wished he had been that man. The individuals that Jeff Van Gundy were talking about were all men amongst boys. I mean, when you talk about Shaquille O'Neal, when you talk about Wilt, when you talk about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, of course, Shaquille O'Neal, the Shaq Daddy, the list goes on, the Olajuwons of the world, and others. These were men who played like men at all times. They were big, they abused you, they let you know that there were levels to this, and you weren't on it. We see that potential inside of Joel Embiid on more occasions than we don't. But nevertheless, there are times, whether it's him playing with his back to the basket or his penchant for shooting the ball from the perimeter, et cetera, that we wished that he would get down low and be that 7'1" dude that can dominate on the inside. And that's why I say, excuse me, we know you got the talent, so Mark Jackson isn't wrong, but the resume matters. We want to see you do it when it counts. And last night, what we saw from him, and certainly that counted, the fact of the matter is we need to see that most nights against him, because we know talent-wise, there's no big man in the NBA that can compare.